Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Premodern Showdown Series 5. We're in week number 7. This is our last week of round robin play, so we will have our top 4 after the end of the night. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined in the booth tonight by Jeff White. How's it going, Jeff?
Hey, everybody. Going great.
Yeah, we got a match between Will Hirst and Jared Doucette. I guess I'll just bring up the standings because that kind of like sets the tone for tonight. And there's been like more developments. Like I know Lanny has been like working on this like all afternoon, but I made a rough graphic of where we're at. So in terms of clinch top 4, I put Jared and Lanny they're at 4 and 2. Lanny did inform me that he is in fact not clinched, that there is a nightmare scenario. I don't even recall what has to happen, but like there's a permutation where if he loses and certain people win, that he could be knocked out of contention. So even at 4 and 2, he could be knocked out. Jared actually, I guess, is mathematically clinched, but he still has something to play for. That if he wins and Lanny loses, then he gets the first seed for sure. Then moving for like the in the hunt section, Tom at 4 and 2. Like while 4 and 2 is obviously like a respectable record, like a lot of it depends on if Alvaro wins, and I think like Tom gets a lot more nervous if Tom loses and Alvaro wins. Then things get problematic, I think, for Tom, and then for like Mike and Rich, they need to win their match, and then like certain things need to break their way for them to like get in on tiebreakers. So a lot can change in tonight. So unfortunately for Will and Jeff, they are mathematically eliminated, but
Been a fun ride, and it's all good.
Yeah,
I'm get Lanny on the standings though, because I can't even figure it with the juice.
Yeah,
Anything can happen tonight.
Yes, we like did a lot of extensions and permutations. I will note I apologize to Lanny because last season I had made a graphic like this, and I had said that BK Brian Caldwell was clinched for top 4, and I mean, I definitely did look at like the different stuff of what would happen, and then like everything went wrong for BK, and he ended up getting 5th, and so the nightmare scenario happened for him. So I apologize in advance to Lanny that I may have given him the BK curse and said that he is clinched when he technically is not. So hopefully that curse is not a tradition for Lanny's sake. But the match that we have for this first round is Will and Jared. So Jared looking for a win to help with the idea of him securing that first seed, because that does give him an advantage for the playoffs. Let's jump down to the decks that are available to them. So we're in our 7th week of play, so the decks have kind of refreshed, so they have all decks available to them. Will has Fluctuator, Sly, and Stasis, while Jared has Red Green Goblins, Parallax, Replenish, and The Rock. Jeff, I don't know if you did your homework, but do you want to make a prediction on what you think the players are going to bring?
Yeah, so I did take a look at this, and I'm pretty sure Jared won't bring Replenish. I think he had a good win with it. He had a little bit of struggles. I think he's going to go what he is most comfortable with and his most powerful deck, which is Goblins. I think Goblins matches up well. I mean, well enough against Sly. I know people have debated if it's a 50-50 or not, but I think it's well enough. We already had a Goblins win against Sly this PSS. I think it's a fine matchup against Stasis. It's a pretty fun matchup against Stasis. I don't know that any of his decks match up that well against Fluctuator. You might argue that the Rock, with some of what it can do in terms of hand destruction, would be a decent matchup. But his Goblins deck also it can just go quick. It has Wastelands to disrupt the lands, and it has Tormod's Crypts in the sideboard. So I'm thinking he's going to bring Goblins, and maybe hopes he plays against Stasis.
Okay. Let's jump down and figure out. So first up, we have Will. He is playing the Fluctuator deck. So one of the decks like a lot of people have talked about and kind of praised Will for bringing this deck to the tournament, but really things have not panned out that well for him with this deck specifically. And I'm not going to go into detail. Like, I don't necessarily think that, like, I think it's just kind of bad luck for what Will could have done, but that matchups didn't line up quite perfectly. But yes, this is like a very all-in combo deck. The matchups can be very lopsided, I guess. And so your game one win percentage is pretty good against a lot of decks because they're not interacting on the same axis. But then a lot of times there are a number of sideboard cards that interact unfavorably for you. So the sideboard games can like really be kind of dicey. It's kind of like a pre-modern version of Dredge that like you really hope to win game one and then you kind of hope to squeak one out in the sideboard, assuming that, or I mean, there are times that maybe like they just don't have any tools in their sideboard and you have really favorable stuff. But yeah, what it's trying to do is resolve Fluctuator and then cycle through its deck, cast Songs of the Dam, add a bunch of mana, and then cast a Drain Life upon you. And so, and then yeah, that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah,
So,
I think I will say I think it's unfortunate that Will's matchups have panned out that he lined them up such that he just ran into counter spells every time he played it, and that's a bummer because there are not that many decks in this gauntlet of PSS decks that have that much game against his Fluctuator deck. So this should be an interesting one tonight.
yep, and he will be up against Jared in the hands of his Red Green Goblins deck. So as you kind of predicted that the Goblins, I know when Jared had told me which deck he was going to pick, he said, I'm going to play the deck that I'm comfortable with. And I know this is something that he has had more reps than, especially like, I know like the Parallax Replenish deck, he said like, this is something I've picked up a lot more recently and don't have as many reps with. So something he's more comfortable with, which I do think it is pretty valuable in a lot of games of Premodern. If the matchup's close, just being familiar with certain play patterns or interactions, I think do give you percentage points. So yeah, the aggressive goblins with a couple copies of Naturalize, which I am curious, like I know like Naturalize is a card like because Fluctuator is the name of the deck or whatever. My inclination is just to sideboard those out. I don't think they do any, like you might catch them in certain spots where like you might stop their cycling plan, but I just don't think the Naturalizes do enough. So that's my biggest thing is like, are those in the sideboarded games?
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting. I think generally once the Fluctuator is in play, you can't interact with it with Naturalize. So I think they'll come out, but I could be wrong. I know Jared won the rock paper scissors, so that's a good one for him to start, and he's hoping to see a lackey here.
Yep. All right. Let's jump down to the match. If you want to let our players know that they can begin. Yeah, and so you did say Jared's on the play, so he's really looking for that lackey. He doesn't know exactly what he's playing against, but if you talk about the decks that Will plays, like Stasis, Fluctuator, so Sly. So like Sly is the one deck where like lackey is, I don't know if at its best kind of thing.
Yeah, but you wouldn't mull hard if you knew you were playing Sly. But if you knew you were playing the other two, you'd mull probably at least once to get to the lackey. It looks like he starts with a Skirk Prospector, though.
Yeah.
You're going to have to help me out with Will's cards. I am not much of a modern frame guru here.
I think this one actually he might actually have mostly in the classic frame, but we got a polluted Mire to begin with for Will. So
the War Chief.
Yeah, so this is a matchup where it's kind of nice that you know that your War Chief's going to stay in play. Like they're not going to interact with it because sometimes it feels bad when you use a Skirk Prospector and it gets to power out a War Chief, but it gets removed.
It's interesting because right now both of them essentially have theoretically Jared could win in 2 right here. Not with that play, but Will could also win in 2. The clock is pretty short for both players in all likelihood. Yeah,
so Will has, like on his third turn, he's going to look to play the Fluctuator. So Jared doesn't have any disruption. I believe Will kept 7, so that's usually an indication that you have a Fluctuator in your hand, especially like the pre-boarded games.
Yeah.
And
Jared's probably pissed right now that he missed a land drop there because getting that pile driver and coming over for 8 would have been pretty nice.
Okay, so this is a Fluctuator.
Is it? Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
What set is that from?
That I don't know. Let's see if I my fetcher. It is from Commander 20. Is that a set? I don't even know. I don't know. Some Commander set, I think.
Something to do with EDH. I have no idea.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
So yeah, Will's gonna do his thing, and
And see what happens.
this is almost it's not guaranteed, but I think almost it's very likely that Will's gonna win this turn.
I would say this is over anyway because Jared can't win next turn. So even if he somehow bricks, it'll be over next turn.
I'm just looking at Jared's thumbs.
Oh, he is twiddling his thumbs. Way to go, Jared.
Yeah. Yeah, so will cycle through his deck. The cards that he's not able to cycle are the 3 other copies of Fluctuator, 1 copy of Songs of the Dam, and then Haunting Misery, and then I guess a Dromar's Cavern, which would be able to pick up one of the Polluted Mires, and so he'd be able to cycle again. So he's basically going to go through his whole deck and then add a bunch of mana and kill his opponent.
Yeah. With the full grip, I'm not even sure if it's on the draw. I'm not even sure if it's possible for him to brick, but I haven't goldfished this, so maybe someone in the chat knows. It might be guaranteed though.
Yeah, I mean, like one thing like mulligans would change that, or just like if but I don't know. I'm not gonna worry about it. Chad is saying that I think he can still brick. That they're saying it's mathematically possible if like the worst card's at the bottom or something. Oh, and also Chad is saying that Will did mulligan. So.
Oh, did he? Okay.
It's funny. I played like a pre-modern meetup in Madison, and somebody had like proxied the the Fluctuator deck. Just the idea of that's like the cheapest deck in pre-modern, and it was still proxied.
It's so cheap, but it's such a pain in the ass to build. Like I just imagine going on TCG and clicking boom every card, and every card you have to pay like $1 shipping or more.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on my TCG orders trying to optimize my carts, and it's like
right, yeah, more time than it's worth spending.
Well, that's what I say. Like, there is a fine line in terms of like finding the amount of time that's worth and the amount you save. But like, to be fair, it is a good feeling when you're like, I did this correctly. Like I did not pay more than shipping that I needed to, but I don't know if it's worth the time. So yeah, the result in that match is Will got there, but
yeah. So probably to be expected on game 1. Jared had to move really quickly. He didn't know he was playing against Fluctuators, so didn't really have the mulligan or the luxury of hard mulliganing and trying to get a better lackey draw. And probably moot point anyway because Will went on turn 3. That's pretty quick.
All right, so I have Jared's deck up. The sideboard has 3 Tormod's Crypt, which I have to assume are coming in. There's a Pyroblast, 2 Hull Breach, 2 Naturalize, 3 Pyrokinesis, 1 Red Elemental Blast, 2 Tranquil Domain, and 1 Gempalm Incinerator. So the Tormod's Crypts are coming in. They're very good against what Will's trying to do. The question is, I guess, one that I kind of hinted at before, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure the Naturalizes are not good, but maybe they're better than a card like Gempalm Incinerator. I don't know. Like maybe like that. I don't know how you weigh that. But then the other card I want to talk about is like Pyroblast and Blue Elemental Blast, and that's mainly because if Will goes into the plan of having Misdirection or Miscalc, so Misdirection would only target a spell, so it wouldn't be able to change anything from a Tormod's Crypt.
Yeah, I don't think Will would bring in Misdirection. I don't think there's any need for that. Miscalculation, I couldn't see him bringing that either.
I would say like it doesn't do a very good job of fighting a 0 mana spell, especially when all your lands come into play tapped.
Right, exactly. He's probably dead by then. So I don't know if Will brings in anything, frankly. Is the Lotus Petal to speed you up?
Yeah, I think it's usually against like combo decks or decks that you don't necessarily expect disruption or need the consistency, but you need the speed. I do think he will bring in the extra copy of Gilded Light, that is something to protect yourself against Tormod's Crypt. It gives yourself Shroud, which the Tormod's Crypt does target. So I definitely anticipate that one coming in.
Gotcha.
But beyond that, maybe you bring in an expunge that might buy you a turn. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, it's not unreasonable. Probably better than some of the bigger creatures, right? So
yeah, I mean, because the Goblins deck doesn't have any way to gain life. I mean, like you need to have. I guess the nice thing about Will is like he's not transforming, so he still has that consistent like explosive kill where he's going to go through his entire deck. Because sometimes the sideboard plan is if you're bringing the misdirections, you can't like consistently combo the way he did in game one. I think he's still on that combo plan, so yeah, I could see that happening.
yeah, I think I expect Jared just to bring in the 3 Tormod's Crypts, take out probably the 2 Naturalize. He doesn't have a Hullbridge main deck, does
Well,
he?
it's kind of weird. Like, is like a card like is Naturalized better than Goblin Sharpshooter? Like it.
Mm.
I guess it depends on
I
like.
don't think so. I don't think it can interact.
Yeah, yeah. I would say like the only thing it does is it means your opponent needs to have one more cycling card in hand to like go off. Right?
Yeah,
That's the only way you catch them is like if that's their last card, they're cycling it, and in response you naturalize a fluctuator. That's the only way you get them, I think. So I that seems very inconsistent and unreliable.
yeah. It seems like a corner case, but you're right. Goblin Sharpshooter just stinks. So yeah, I'll be curious to see. I guess I expect Jared. It looks like he's mulliganing. Looks like he might have taken a mulligan. But I would expect him to mull into like certainly a Tormod's Crypt, um, or like
Yeah,
some sort of lackey wasteland
yeah. I would
situation.
say like it. Yeah, I would say Wasteland actually is just like a huge player in this matchup. Like just like the combination of having Lackey and Wasteland in your deck is just like absolutely awesome. He's just like really excited about those Wastelands.
Bill's throwing one back too.
So,
Maybe so. Maybe Naturalize is maybe you do keep it in because if Will has to mulligan a couple of hands because he doesn't see a fluctuator in his opener, um, my understanding is the fewer cards he starts with, the greater likelihood that he bricks, and therefore, well, I guess if he bricks, he usually bricks on a fluctuator, but still probably better than a sharpshooter, right?
I mean it's a hard question to ask. I would like because I don't actually know. I think I would take the naturalizes out. I think sharpshooter on average is like likely to deal more damage. Like there
Yeah,
just might be board situations like with a Skirk Prospector that it might just be able to deal damage. I don't know. I just
yeah.
don't think the likelihood of a naturalize like catching him in that one spot, like you having the mana up, it just seems so unlikely to me.
I think you're right. I don't think we're missing anything there. Looks like so Jared's keeping 7. Looks like Will's going to 5.
Okay. I mean, it's something like when you play the Fluctuator deck, you have to be willing to mulligan. Uh, Especially when you know like your opponent doesn't have cards like Duress or whatnot. Like you don't feel nearly as bad mulliganing to find
Right.
that Fluctuator. But yeah, it also might be a thing that like Will just needs to keep a hand with multiple lands because he's expecting a card like Wasteland or like prioritizing getting like white mana because of Gilded Light. So we'll see
Yeah,
if
that's
Will's able
true.
to structure a hand that is good enough.
How many lands does that deck play actually?
Uh, it's let me bring up my uh. I'm not
4.
sure because you could play. I mean, there's 24 cycling lands, right? So it's no more than 20, or well, no more than 25 because one of them is a Dromar's Cavern. But I don't know how many he has. Let's see.
Might be 25. So I suppose, I always think about mulling hard to the fluctuator, but I suppose you can certainly draw one lander, right?
Yeah,
All right, so it looks like Will's keeping 5. Yeah, you're good guys.
I don't know. There's
That
like
standing rule. Doesn't everybody know this by now? Just
I was
go
say
after
I would
game.
say I feel like I say it every time like in the chat, and I feel like or like enough people have like heard me say that they should just know that they can start. But it just has become a tradition that like everyone has to ask.
Maybe now they're trolling you, Hoyt.
Yeah.
All right, so he gets the lackey down. That's a good start for Jared. Yeah, I don't. He wouldn't be sandbagging a crypt, so he probably doesn't have a crypt unless he just drew it. Depending on what he wants his 2-drop to be, he could be sandbagging a wasteland.
uh, I think you. Well, I guess you know. Well, I guess you don't know because Will could have brought in the Lotus Petal, and he could have blasted Landscape, which comes into play untapped, or the Dromar's Cavern. So I think if you had Wasteland, I don't think you would sandbag it.
Well, he might want to play a pile driver here, though.
Sure. Yeah, that might be worth it if you're going to spend your mana.
Yeah.
Well, Jared's got the arguably the best card to put off of.
Oh, he does have the crypt. This is going to be a tough one.
Okay, I would say like this is probably good enough if you just had a pile driver, because that is a natural turn 3 kill, with the attack and then one activation of the siege or the siege gank is like 21 damage, I think.
Yeah.
Will does have a blasted landscape, but yeah, that torment script definitely making Jared feel safe in the situation.
Ooh, wow. He's got it all this game.
All right, yeah, Will passes the turn, and Jared gets to attack for just 2 lackey triggers. Let's and a wasteland. All right, so this is Jared's like I got you kind of game.
This is basically a dream draw, unless a pile driver would have been nice too, but
Yeah.
yeah, this is the nuts.
But I mean that's one of the downsides of Fluctuator is you're like very all in on a combo, and when you have decks that interact with you almost on any axis, whether it's disrupting your mana, countering your Fluctuator, discarding it, or exiling your graveyard, it will be problematic.
Jared was one short right there.
Yeah, Gabe has asked why cycle a land and not a creature. That is a good question. I don't. Maybe if you're, well, I don't know how you would bait a Tormod's Crypt. um, yeah, I don't know.
He must have drawn that Goblin Fanatic because I think he was, yeah, didn't matter.
All right, so Jared puts the hurt on Will in that second game, and yeah, and
So now Will get the chance to go first. Be interesting to see how much disruption Jared draws and how much it matters. I'm not sure exactly what Will's game plan is around that. I haven't played the deck.
I mean, I have to imagine like if I'm in Jared's position, I am not keeping any hand unless it's. I'm trying to think if it were because even if it were Lackey, Siege Gang, Pile Driver, that on the draw against Fluctuator is too slow. In theory, right? Because you kill them on your turn 3, but Fluctuator will kill you on their turn 3, and Will's on the play. So I can't imagine Jared not keeping a hand with without Wasteland or Tormod's Crypt. Like I just don't think there's any hand I would. You also I guess maybe if Will mulligans to 6, that you might be willing to keep like that a really strong hand with no disruption, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Keep a lackey hand if he mulls to 6, maybe.
Maybe, and I'm not confident in that. I think I would, I would just be nervous because like I would want my deck to for sure kill on turn 4 if I have no and even if it is a turn 4 kill, I don't know if that would be fast enough if you don't have any disruption.
If you, I guess so. You're going to see 2 cards. You have 7 outs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also got to factor into your calculus too.
Sure.
Looks like Jared and Will are both mulling. What are we drinking tonight, Hoyt?
A rum and coke.
Attaboy.
I saw you had a glass. What are you drinking?
Yeah, I poured, last night at the PSS that I'm in anyway, I poured a nice glass of Booker's and
Yeah,
truly enjoying it.
yeah, you're much fancier than I am.
Uh, you're keeping it real. I love it. All right, let's see how they like their six.
Who do you like in this game three?
I would probably give the edge to Will if the deck is treating him okay.
I feel like it's in Jared's hands. It's kind of just like, yeah, I guess in theory you could mulligan Oblivion, but I don't know. I would rather be in the Goblin seat in the sideboarded game.
Seems close.
Yeah, I do agree. I do think it's very close. The games I find the most interesting are the cyborg games of Fluctuator. When you play against a deck with discard, it's kind of like when your opponent like with discard keeps 7 cards, you're like, I don't know if I actually want Fluctuator in my hand. Like, I think it might actually be better to have a 4th copy in my deck because it's just so likely that they're going to fire off a Duress or Cabal Therapy. We do see
Yeah,
Jared with kind of the best of both worlds with a Lackey and a Tormod script.
pretty good start.
I mean, that's not guaranteed that he has a big haymaker like a Siege Gang to follow it up. It could even like a ringleader. Like, I mean, I guess with the Torment script, it probably doesn't
Any,
matter if you go slow.
I mean, pile driver's fine. Yeah, so like
Uh,
I was gonna say any goblin and pile driver is kind of a good turn two there.
yeah, that is definitely so. The pile drivers would be attacking for 5, and then it'd be
Yeah, so a two
an
turn clock.
11th point from the. Maybe Goblin Sharpshooter can become relevant in this game. Can change the clock at some form of
Maybe
fashion.
he'll come over with an incinerator
Yes.
just to come full circle on all that. That would be sweet.
I always think it's funny how I'm like talk about how these things never come up and then they like multiple times they've happened in the PSS. Actually, both the times I'm thinking are with goblins. We were talking about like naming Mog flunkies with a Cabal Therapy or something, and that happened or something, and then Gem Palm Incinerator attacking.
Doing some hurt. I think I did 6 or 8 points with that.
That guy did a lot of work. I hope that guy got like promoted or something. Like
He should.
he should
Sign him.
find his way into the broken draft or something.
Maybe I'll have Jared sign him. I actually, from when we did a Wrath Cycle draft at MobsterCon one year, I don't know how it came about, but I have a Jared signed Mod Flunkies. We changed it to a 5/5. I think it was probably had some sort of buff on it.
Okay.
I think it made it right into the broken draft. 5/5 Jared Doucette signed. Play it as it reads though.
So just I'm thinking the original art bonus. I was gonna say like if you had the original art to flunkies, it just is always can attack.
Yeah, we had to do away with that rule
Um,
for probably obvious reasons. So how does Fluctuator fight through one crypt in one turn?
Gilded Light is probably the best way. Is like if you have enough mana to start going off, and then because you're able to cycle each card individually, and the opponent doesn't really know like when you've. I guess you kind of if I were Jared, you kind of just do it. If you knew the number of creatures, you probably just do it at the point where he's not going to be able to generate enough mana, because then it's least likely that he has a Gilded Light, and most effective in that instance. But it's kind of a fine line. Basically, Will just wants to have a little bit extra mana and have Gilded Light.
Gilded Light cost 2.
Yes, 1 and a white. Yep. So Will has played a 4th land, so he's able to tap a land to pick it up. So he does have that 4th mana. If he does have the Fluctuator and Gilded Light, I guess in theory he could. Well, he does. He would need to have the Lotus Petal, I think, to win here.
Well, he'll get to both of them likely.
Yeah. So
once he starts cycling.
Okay, he has a Fluctuator.
He doesn't need to have any of those in hand.
So in this spot, we talked about like him cycling lands first. here I think it's actually beneficial to cycle the lands first because you want to find that Gilded Light before you commit to too many creatures in the graveyard.
Right.
Because I think I don't know what the number is, but I think it might actually be correct for Jared to activate the crypt like before Will goes too deep in his library.
Yeah, but that just goes on the stack, so he can just continue to cycle.
Yes. And I guess well, yeah, and because the Songs of the Dam is an instant, so I
Yeah.
guess that doesn't matter too much. I guess it would make him have one more cycling card, but that's very, very likely that Will does have that. Well, he cycled a Gilded Light.
Does he side in the second Songs of the Damned?
I don't. That is also like kind of a way to play around Crypt as well.
Yeah, because if he plays a pedal, right, he can Songs of the Damned. Jared can Crypt. He can respond with a second Songs of the Damned and just win. So I guess he would have sided that in if he knows he's playing against Crypt. Right?
He does have the pedal, yeah.
So now he has 2 black. He has access to 2 black.
Well, this does seem like a okay time. Well, I guess I don't know when. Because he's casting the
Card he has.
Because he still has access to black mana, so it's not like crypting him now really prevents anything.
This is interesting. I think he just needs to line up the 2 songs and the drain, or if he tries to songs right now, if he has enough.
Oh, Jared just gets to untap. That was very quickly that Jared attacked.
What? What did Will have? He had 1 songs.
You get 2 fluctuators,
2
of songs,
fluctuators and a drain. So that's not. Yeah, that's a rough one.
Yeah,
he couldn't line it up. I thought he was going to get there actually, but the 2, Drew. If the fluctuators were at the bottom of his deck, he would have won that game.
Yeah, that seemed like a position that I thought I got real nervous for Jared, but yeah, it ended up that the fluctuator deck did not treat Will well, and he falls to Jared. So
I gotta believe Will was at least a coin flip to pull that one out.
Oh, I mean, definitely from that position, like from where he's at. Like, I don't know what the math is, but I think he's favored to win in that spot.
Yeah, I wonder what the actual math is because he's got 3 fluctuators in his deck, and he also needs 3 cards to kill.
Okay, it looks like I think Naturalizers did come out. All right, let's jump down to the players and listen what they have to say.
But still had so much fun doing this,
Exactly.
I really like my goal whenever I get into the PSS is hopefully just to get invited back again because I do have so much fun playing in it. So, which is great.
Well,
so
we'll see if I can get back after this performance. You never know.
All right, let's turn them up again.
Sounds great.
Hey guys.
Hey
Hello,
guys,
hello.
I'm Matt.
Hi.
Hello.
I definitely thought, Will, that you were just going to be able to win through that Torment script in that spot.
I mean, I probably just needed another turn or two to.
Yeah.
The sideboard plan, at least the one that Flint had laid out for this, is you're bringing in 2 additional cards that don't have cycling, so your opportunities to fizzle are much more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and Jared had great starts each time, Lackey starts, and then games 2 and 3 with Tormod's Crypt without having to mulligan too hard for it. So I don't know. What are you going to do at that point?
So the 2 cards you brought in, one of them was a Lotus Petal that we saw. The other card, is it the other Songs of the Damned?
1 Lotus Petal, 1 Songs of the Damned, 1 Gilded Light.
Okay.
Right, okay. So 3 total cards, right? So basically, the way your deck was lining up there, if your fluctuators were on the bottom, you win. And if you draw too many fluctuators, you lose.
It's essentially how that works out. I mean, it's your typical combo deck. What are you going to do? It's a deck that punishes a deck if it stumbles, right? That's what it's designed to do, or sometimes they just don't have anything. Game 1 is a great example. Very hard to lose game 1. Game 2, it's can you dodge Lackey plus Tormod's Crypt, I guess, and I just didn't.
Yeah. I mean, Jared definitely had the nuts there in game 2. So, Jared, your sideboard strategy, we were speculating you bring in 3 crypts, take out 2 naturalize, and probably a sharpshooter.
I took out the incinerators. I guess sharpshooter, tinkerer, like they all want to go. You know,
Yeah.
I ended up bringing in the 2 like kind of red blasts I have, just in case he brought in those counter spells, which I didn't think. But like, I just know the naturalizes are terrible, and maybe I should have just kept in, you know, a couple more creatures just to make sure like my lackeys are as good as possible. But you know, there's a lot of cards that aren't great, but you know, the rest of the deck, I mean, having Tormod's Crypt is huge. A Wasteland's good, and I mean, I had drew Lackey, you know, turn 1 on those games 2 and 3, and game 1 I was literally a turn away from killing him with the second pile driver, so it was close. It was definitely it's a race, you know, it's what it is, and I had a couple cards that were just disruptive enough, which was good.
We made you for bringing goblins. What were you thinking you were going to play against? Because obviously you don't really know, so you can't mull that hard game 1 if you're against Sly.
I was sure he was going to bring Fluctuator. It was definitely probably, you know, it's definitely, I don't have any counter spells in my 225. But so I was just kind of like, I was pretty sure he was going to bring that. And I just knew I had to have a good start. And my start, you know, in game 1 was Prospector into War Chief into the pile driver, and then I happened to draw the so it felt like a pretty good aggressive hand no matter what I was against. And so, but it wasn't, you know, I would have liked a Wasteland in there, but that's about all I could have hoped for as far as like, you know, what I was figuring in game 1,
right,
outside of a Lackey start. But yeah, so I was pretty sure he was bringing that, and I was thinking about playing the Rock just because, you know, the discard, but like as I learned last week, you know, discard against the deck that just needs 1 card to basically go off, it's not very good against. You know, it's good against like the combo-ish decks that need like multiple pieces to go together. But like against one, if he just has Fluctuator, he just goes off. If he ever just tops that, and it doesn't, Rock does not put on enough of a clock. You know, that's why I've actually really would like to get into like see if there's like, you know, a green, red, black, like aggressive deck that can still use Duress and Cabal Therapy for disruption, you know, and put a clock on, you know, which I think would be beneficial.
Yeah, and you don't, in your Rock deck, you don't get any better after board. So
no. No, I did. Maybe the Haunting Echoes are just way too slow. You know, they're not Tormod's Crypt, so. So, yeah.
Yeah, we thought it was an entertaining match. It was a real nail biter there in game 3 when the suspense of if Will was going to get there or not. I mean, you were probably, game 1, obviously you're just twiddling your thumbs.
Yeah,
quite literally, yes.
Yeah, I knew I was dead, but I just like it was his first time getting go off in the PSS, I think.
That's
so
true.
I was like, I'm gonna let him do his thing, you know. I remember there was somebody was playing a combo deck at one point who it was playing like the Twiddle Vault combo and like old school, and used to pass his opponent like a coloring book, you know, like one of the first Lobster Cons. It's like, I'm gonna be going off for a while, so it might take a bit, but yeah, no, it was a good match, and you know, it like didn't have Tormod's Crypt, I'm dead, you know, pretty much each time. So
I remember there's some article that was like posted, and it was like at a GP or something, and my friend was getting comboed off. I don't remember what combo his opponent had, but he was like literally playing like the old school Game Boy. It's like the 90s. It's somewhere out there, but yeah, it's a classic photo.
Will, game 3, you had to mull to 5 again, is that right?
Mulled to 6 game 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I made a mistake game 3. I was worried about what he said about now, and if he left the naturalizes in. I had an opportunity to play like a turn 2 Fluctuator, which opens up more mana on a go off turn. But it also means like if he destroys the Fluctuator in any way, I open myself Tormod's Crypt or a Wasteland, because I would have had to use Caverns to do what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, that may have been the right play and not worry about it, leaving me more mana open to like because I had the Gilded Light in my hand from the beginning to maybe like Gilded Light on upkeep before going off if I had enough cards, but I chose not to. I don't know if it would have mattered because I still had a good chance of fizzling anyway at that point. But yeah.
That's a good point. So as we were doing the commentary, we didn't think that there was really much reason, if any reason, to keep the naturalizes in. But because given that Jared, you have so many kind of like call them dead goblins, right? Like 3-drop goblins is kind of if you know that one of the lines of the deck is just lay out a naked fluctuator, then you do keep them in.
Right. Yeah, but I guess in was talking about the naturalizes with Will, during those in between the games, and maybe I gave a little too much away. He was talking about the naturalizes. These aren't very good. You can just like do it in response, so it's not a big deal. So maybe I should have just you keep the 2 in just to be honest, and take out the incinerators and the takerers or I don't know.
I think keeping 2 in is honest, or some amount is honest. Exactly what I'm saying is like, because if you're playing Tormod's Crypt, it forces me in a position like if I go off early and you naturalize, I have a choice. Do I dig for that fluctuator and then get blown out by a crypt? Because I have no mana at that point. So I think it's probably correct to keep at least 1 or 2 in for that thing. Because as Jared, you said you have what the hell is Sharpshooter going to do against me?
It's so slow. Yeah.
After this conversation, I'm 100% positive it's right to keep them in and just getting your crypts for the incinerators or whatever 3-cost goblin.
Yeah, I can see that going forward for sure. Yeah. Now just
I
take
like
us to the
Fluctuator as a. Yeah, I like Fluctuator as a deck. I wish I had more experience with it before I brought it. I'd have felt more comfortable. But another thing I was talking to BK when we were kind of sitting around is like I brought 2 out of 3 decks that had just glaring like Dreadnought problems.
Okay.
Which is I have like a notepad in my room of a series of things I've learned from putting this together and going through it that I want to write up and hopefully share with people just because I think they're interesting insights in this sort of thing. But that was one thing is just if you're doing something like you can't just ignore like blind spots and just hope you don't catch it. It doesn't work. And also the other one is be comfortable with decks you play.
I would second that. I think it's important to. I don't think I thought enough about like this new system. I was kind of thinking of like on the old band system where I would I'd rather play like generically good decks, if you will, and as opposed to this almost like it incentivizes some polarizing matchups. Like I think your Fluctuator deck, if you had some bad luck with how it kind of ended up, but like it's totally possible that like you just get good matchups in a bunch of against decks that just can't interact with it.
It's very possible. Yeah.
But
no, this has been this is my last time. It's been a pleasure playing in this. Whoever in our chat had the idea of putting together a loser's PSS, a redemption arc story. Was that Jeff?
Yeah.
Me and Jeff are first in line.
Right.
Jeff's not allowed because he already gave me one of my losses, so I'm that's not fair.
For my only win, that seems like a fair trade.
Fine. But no, it's been a pleasure playing this. I look forward to watching this play out as I attempt to get standard going at the local shop on our Thursday nights. So that's what I'll be doing. But yeah, it's been a pleasure playing for everybody and all the comments and people wishing me luck and whatnot. And I'd be happy to do it again if the opportunity ever arises.
All right.
I'm sure everyone agrees, given how lumped up we got, that you handled it like a gentleman.
Yeah, no, I tried. It's okay. I lost the plot. I stopped having fun somewhere in that last couple matches. But no, Jared, best of luck to you. I can't imagine you're not locked at this point. I would be very surprised. And I'll catch everybody next time, or if they listen to a podcast or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Will. And we will let our players go. We'll get our things set up for round number 2 since we have a lot more pre-modern action, and we got to figure out who's going to make that top 4 cut for our PSS. So thank you, players, and we'll take a quick break.
Take care.
See you there.